I was thinking about a couple of things. This is so funny what I just did, and you won't understand this, but you will. I started off by saying, the next April Fools, I want to do the show muted. The entire show muted. And people would be going crazy. Sound, sound. I don't read lips. Sound. It would be one of the funniest things for me, at least. And I would just do the whole show, an hour, muted, and to see how far would people go. You would lose your mind. I mean, some people would. I really mean it. I think they would have to have the authorities called. And as I was saying this just now, as I said it, I looked and I was muted, maybe a second. But I thought, oh my God, that's double irony. The gods have a sense of humor. I don't know. Just thinking about that, just thinking about where this thing kind of figures. Today is Labor Day. And for those who do not understand, for those who, look at this. Here we go. See this? You're muted. See that? It's the only thing that matters. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate that. It's the only, it's like the one who goes, I know, Mrs. Canfield. I know the answer. Ooh, 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 calling me. I know. Ooh, 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 ooh. It's great. It's one of the, yes. It's like the old joke. How do you keep and then you can pick the ethnicity you want. How do you keep a blank in suspense? And then you don't. Anyway. So today is Labor Day. And Labor Day is a day that nobody has the slightest idea of what it is. I want to ask you a question, and I want you to answer this question, and do not in any way, please be truthful. As we speak right now, just say yes or no. Or it's me, or however you want to denote it. How many of you wonderful people to this day have absolutely no idea what Labor Day is, when it came about, how long it's been around, which president named it? I'm asking you to be honest. Be honest. How many of you have absolutely, to this day, never looked, never investigated, never researched, never knew ever? How many of you? Look at this. Thank you. You know what? This is a man after my own heart. This is somebody who is absolutely honest. I respect you. No idea here. Now, here's something too. Davey says no. Does that mean no, you haven't? No, you have? No. I don't know what that means. Anyway, working man gets a day off. That's true. But how many of you have never, ever felt the slightest instinct, the slightest, I've got to know what this is about. I've got to know what this is about. I'm not going to be happy. And if I don't get up out of bed right now, I won't be able to sleep, because I've got to know what this means. 99%, and I can't speak of the world, nothing burns them. They don't have this intellectual starvation. I have to. Look at this. I gave a multiple question, and he writes in the affirmative. I think I know what that was, but that's good. Then, of course, my favorites are these. Yeah, or yes. I don't know what that is. Yes or yeah. Or somebody says Oregon. There we go. That's the beauty of this thing too. There's the idea is that I'm here and you're talking to me. Everybody, and God love you. I love you people. Folks watching right now think they're sitting there in the middle of the room and everybody's at their feet talking to them, as opposed to they're in a theater looking at somebody performing. Many people think, no. I'm here. I'm here. And people say, yes, I don't know. 12. And you'll wonder, they think, yes, the world revolves around me. And I'm not trying to be mean. I know it sounds like I'm being mean. I'm not. That's why I love human behavior. So we have an incurious people who believe the world revolves around them. And if it doesn't mean anything to them, it doesn't exist. If there is a form of music, if there's a movie, if there's a form of music, if they don't like Taylor Swift doesn't exist. It's solipsism. It's everything. It's fabulous. Edie Crowley says, I had a double Labor Day on 9/4/91, my third baby. Oh, bless your heart. One time we asked people, this is before jaywalking and all this. We go on the street and just ask people, what does Labor mean? Nobody really knows. That's the thing, which is this idea to teach people how to be addicted to information. I want to have a class in my school every day. If I had a class, it's 20 minutes, half an hour, what are we going to do, of daydreaming. And every day, 15 minutes, whatever you want. We put on some music, something that people agree to, nothing too loud, maybe something sonorous, something. And kids are forced to look out the window and look at a tree, or not their gadgets, not their phones, but just sit there and daydream and let their heads connect from one thought to the next to the next. That's why so many people have a hard time with me. They said, why are you changing subjects? Because they don't daydream. Their heads are very concretized. I'm sorry to say this. Their heads aren't like spinning like brrr. Doesn't work like that. They don't think like that. They don't think. They're like and I want people to understand. I want people to understand, to always assess, always ask yourself, what am I doing? What am I doing? What is this about? What is going on? What is going on? And it's the most incredible thing in the world. Now, I also want to ask you this question. Let's assume, and this is called a thought experiment. Thought experiments are my favorite because sometimes they allow you to get to the bottom of the issue by virtue of, do you ever, the movie Hunger Games? Yeah, okay. Do you believe that that the United States will ever, or could ever, or will ever experience starvation? Yes or no? Do you believe that the United States will or even could suffer from famine and or starvation? Starvation has always fascinated me, even as a kid. Do you think that's possible? How many people believe that? Edie says yes. Some of us, yes. I always thought, have you ever been someplace where you were so hungry you didn't have anything, you didn't have any food available? Did you ever go through this? Did you ever find yourself? It's one thing when it's where it's locus of control. It's one thing when you're fasting. That's why I love all of a sudden people are into fasting. You can get a little app on your phone to fast. Okay. It's like walking magazines. How do you walk? Wait, walk like this. I got a subscription to walk. I've got an app that tells me how to fast. Not yet. Eat. Okay, there we go. So anyway, but I always was fascinated by it. And there's something about people dying of starvation, because when you die of starvation, it is an absolute, it is your it's almost like internal cannibalization. You use up everything. This is where protein deficiency. This is where all these people, Americans, are worried about protein. Is there enough protein? How do you get your protein? Well, I get my protein. Anyway. And I thought to myself, what is it like when people are like walking on the street and they just keel over and they just die, to see people starving? We don't see starving to death too often. Sometimes you hear about a kid who was starved. Sometimes you think about food. We are so, the idea, because remember, thirst will do some things to you, but food drive you crazy. It's a slow and horrible process. It fascinates me. What would we do? What would we do? Could we ever, will humankind ever face this again? Most people say no, not in this country. Not in this country. That's not going to happen. That's the deadliest thing in the world. No, not me. Oh, no, no. You ever meet these people? Oh, I got nothing to worry about. My grandfather was 80, lived to be 93, smoked Terradins, unfiltered, and blah, blah, blah. They always have these anecdotal stories about, I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to worry about that. Sparky, one of our deepest thinkers, says if Gates and BlackRock buy all the farmland, famine could happen in the US. Indeed. Or unregulated, absolute black market horrors. Why do I say this? Here's why. As you know, we have a great product, a great sponsor. It's preparewithlionel.com. Talking to somebody the other day about that. And as you know, right now there's this sale, which is because it's a 3-month. And by the way, there are competitors. This is the best. My Patriot Supply, this Prepare with Lionel, this is the best. You can, they're the creme de la creme. $300 off of this sale. Anyway, so I'm talking to a friend of mine about this. And I said, he said, there you go again. Because I'm pegged, of course, I'm a conspiracy theorist. And I asked him a question. I said, do you ever believe, not that we'd have famine, but do you believe that there will be some really serious times where we say, you know what, there's been a real serious hiccup here because of either weather or supply chain or whatever it is. We've got problems. And they said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And when reality hits you, when you see people facing reality, you would never see this. You would never see this in a show, and it would be terrible. But can you imagine being somebody like a pathologist, and you spend most of your days walking into rooms, going to places, and telling people you've got cancer? You're the kiss of death. You are. That's what you are. You deliver the worst news possible. What is that like? And people look and say, what? And all of a sudden, everything changes. Everything that mattered before doesn't change anymore. And it could be different. It could be stage 1. Don't worry about this. But the point is, how things, when you're the police officer that goes to the house and tells somebody that they have a loved one who was killed in a car accident, what is that like? I'm fascinated by this. I don't want to see it because it sounds like it's ghoulish. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. But what is it when people are told reality? Because we end up going through most of our lives telling ourselves we don't have to worry about reality. We do this during our lives with death or whatever. Then you get older and more your friends start dying, and then you go, okay, then you become more realistic. But we're always we go through our lives fooling ourselves, and that's a wonderful mechanism. It's a wonderful defense mechanism. You've got to go through your life fooling yourself. If you really handled everything, head on, you'd go crazy. You have to be a little delusional. A little bit to protect yourself. It's called a defense mechanism. Defense mechanisms are important. It's one of those things which absolutely is the most important thing in the world. And when I talk about this, prepare with Lionel, this is, it fascinates me as the people, and I love this, people who say, you know what, that's a good idea. I'll look into it later. Thanks. As opposed to, that's my favorite. You don't need that. But yeah, I love the denial. Oh, there you go again. You don't need that. You don't need the Second Amendment. What? You're gonna? They always want to challenge you. You don't need the Second Amendment because if ever the government came after you, believe me, you and your little pea shooter aren't going to do any good. They love to dispute what you're saying. They live in a world that loves to basically say you're full of it. I'm fascinated by it. Now here's another word experiment. A thought experiment or a word experiment. You ready for this? Listen to this one. during Vietnam, I heard this story years ago. I'll never forget this. A guy who came back, I forget how I heard about it. His mother had saved for him. He just did a regular 1-year tour. His mother had thought, she was a bit of a pack rat, but she's glad she did. She saved everything she could find about the war. Life magazine, Look, newspapers, Raul Rodriguez. She saved Raul Rodriguez. He wasn't even born then, but this is China, 1952, starvation, hungry ghost, 30 million dead. Yeah, but see, bro, that's China. That's not here, right? Right? That's what people think. So he came back from Vietnam, and there he was, humping in country. I'm getting my kind of like I'm surprised Tim Walz didn't. Tim Walz is 6 years my junior, and I missed Vietnam by well, it's like 75. I think they stopped selective service, and I was a junior. I mean, I was really, I mean, a couple of years here or there. Had my mother and father had it taken a little earlier, I would definitely have been there. So anyway, and that's why it's so weird, because maybe I'm from that. Maybe I'm from that generation, because I remember very much Vietnam at the time. Remember when Walter Cronkite every night, and we had people in our neighborhoods and friends, brothers, and I would never joke about that. Not even that or exaggerate. You don't exaggerate that. That's sacred. That is just sacred. But anyway, so imagine if this guy came back from Vietnam, and his mother said, "Look, I saved this for you. It's an entire year of what the media said," and it was a smaller media, but Life and this and magazines and newspapers. But this is what they were saying about. They didn't have VCRs, but this was the music, and he didn't really know this. He had Stars and Stripes and this and that, but he went through it, and he cried. He said, "That's not what happened." He said, "Is this what you thought? Is this what you thought? You know, me lie. I think, me lie. That was one of, what do you, is this what you?" And I'll never forget that. Imagine this. Remember that terrible Steven Seagal movie where he was in a coma and Kelly LeBrock nursed him to death? Steven Seagal movies were so bad, especially when he ran. And they always had these fake. Hollywood can never do fake hair and beards. They just can't do it. Remember Forrest Gump when he was running and he had the beard and everything? Just terrible. Anyway, so Steven Seagal wakes up after he's been, and he goes back and he tries to get back in shape again. Imagine somebody's been in a coma and you say, "Let me explain to you what's going on. Let me explain to you what's happening during the Trump years, during Kamala." What would you say? Where would you go? It's a thought experiment that, believe me, if 10% of you think about this today, I'll be so happy. But it's a fabulous question. What would you do? They come to and they say, "Tell me what happened." Well, what would you show them? Fox News? Would you show them CNN? Would you show them magazines? Would you do screenshots? Would you have Jake Tapper? What would you show them? What information would you show them that gave them an appraisal? And if you did show them CNN, what would you show them? Would you say, "This is what propaganda looks like"? Or would you say, "This is what the truth looks like"? Sparky says, "Went 40 days with only water and minerals. After 2 weeks, I was no longer hungry, and my golf game got much better." And he didn't even play golf. Like I'd reached a higher consciousness to better hunt and kill a mastodon to eat. You know, it's funny you say that. I did that as well. There was I didn't do 40 days. I just did a week, and I did broth, and maybe towards the end. But I remember having this incredible there was this really bad part, where I thought, "Oh my God, I'm going to pass out." And then all of a sudden, you really change it. That's why mind alteration is so important. And if you can do it absent chemicals, you're all the better. But Sparky, what would you show people? How would you tell people, "Here's what's going on"? This person wakes up, "Hey, Uncle Jerry, you're awake. You've been in a coma for 6 years. What? Yeah. You're okay now. I'm okay now. Tell me about Trump. What was he? Is there anything I can read about Trump? Where would you go to learn about Trump? Well, I go to the media. Where should I go to the media? Well, was he a good guy, a bad guy? A bad guy is who's this Kamala? Who is she? Is she good? Is she bad? What is it? Remember this one? Remember that? What would you do? Because the information that you're getting, the information you get controls your perspective on everything. And you will always go and you always get information that comports with your worldview, not information that disproves what you believe in. I promise you, people who are devout Christians spend little to no time listening to lectures of atheists. They don't. And I can understand why. I get it. And then you're going to ask the question, well, who's right here? I saw something today. I love lefties losing it on Australia. What is it? Hang on, where I've got this. Here we go. Lefties losing. I love this. Rita Panahi. Rita Panahi is wonderful. And she does this Australian, whatever the hell that is. She does. It's wonderful. And she does this great. She's just very, very good. Very interesting. And she was doing this wonderful thing. She had this story. By the way, she's at Rita Panahi, Panahi. She's on at Twitter. Very good. She's read that great whatever that, the Aussie, whatever the hell it's called. Okay. I should be much better at knowing this. You know what I'm talking about. Hang on a minute. I don't want to leave you hanging with that. That's terrible if I just leave you with it. She's very, very good. I like her style. Here we go. Lefties losing it. Sky News Australia. Here, let me give you this one. Here's her latest link. She's very good. I love her. Love her attitude. I love her. I tend to agree with her. And she had a piece. She did not recognize this. And I don't know. Watch this. And she had, believe it or not, Swifties for Kamala, whatever. And it was, I believe, Carole King. What's that one? Shake it down, shake it up, shake it off. What? Shake it down, whatever it's called. And I believe it was Carole King. I don't think Rita recognized her. I believe it was Carole King. And she was, and here's Carole King, the great Carole King, who wrote one of her best songs, Jazz Man, actually lauding and laughing about a Kamala presidency. Sparky says, I was strict, no bra. The first 4 days is the worst. After 10 days, it starts getting better. Then after 14 days, hunger goes away. Minerals are like the clay and salt cookies Haitians eat in famine. Interesting. Please, though, I would say just if ever you do that, make sure you do check with your doctor. I don't know, especially if you have whatever it is. Just you'd be surprised how you don't need to eat. That's like I've got friends of mine who say, you don't need it. You didn't eat dinner tonight, but it's 6:00. That kind of thing. I think. So anyway, so Rita's doing this thing, and I want you to watch this. And it's Carole King. Now, Carole King is one of the greatest songwriters. She and Jerry Goffin, and I think Jazz Man is So Far Away. I mean, Tapestry was the biggest. Remember Tapestry, 1970? I think it was the biggest. I think it was 1970. It was one of the biggest. It was unbelievable. I'm serious. It was a monster. So here she is. Must be in her 70s. Celebrating a Kamala. Now, at the time I'm watching this, Dom Luker Please follow him. Great, 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 great American on Twitter, X. He's showing Venezuelans, mobs going into exclusive Denver neighborhoods, automatic weapons en masse in swarms. Okay? Swarms. And I thought to myself, does Carole King know that you would not be having that under a Trump administration? Because Trump would set the theme that would percolate down where law and order would be first and foremost. Sparky says minerals are a must in a long fast or your muscles won't work. And you'll be sitting down all the time from weakness. Minerals are important. Very, very, you'd be surprised. You're right about that, Sparky. How many things we as folks, it's so funny. Whenever you go to a GNC store or something and you say, oh, here's minerals, oh, here's magnesium. I say, well, why don't you eat it? Eat it. No, I want to take a pill. Well, why not? Why not just eat the stuff with magnesium in it? What? Yeah, just eat it. Eat it? You mean I can eat magnesium? Yeah. Well, what has magnesium in it? Look it up. See, we don't look things up. Edie says, please check out Slavomir Rawich's story, The Long Walk, A Trek to Freedom. Okay, I will. I like when people send me all the time saying, please see Eddie Butitsky, his video on the Fed. Okay. And I always tell people, please see this. It's a bunch of outtakes from the French chef. People say, well, why do you want that? I said, same reason you want me to see your thing. Because some people, not you, Edie, but some people will send me stuff to say, I just want you to know I watched this, so I want you to watch this. Johnny Ballgame says Reefer Madness. Reefer Madness was one of the most important things. And I can tell, Johnny, by the look of you, you know a little bit about a reefer because you look like a head. You look like somebody who smokes too much weed. And I'm kidding. I love you. I don't even know if that picture's even you. Reefer Madness and the history of the distortion of marijuana, from the DuPonts to Hearst to Anslinger to everything. It's a story of propaganda and the like. Going back initially to my question, imagine somebody from Vietnam going through life making this is terrible. All these people are protesting, but you don't know. I lost buddies there. Oh well. But we were in a firefight in Quezon. Oh well. But we've got, and I love when Crosby Stills, when Stephen Stills would always say, this is for some Marine humping in the woods. Well, where were you? I mean, I never got a real reason. Why did, listen, I don't think you have to be in war or military necessarily, but when a lot of the 60s songwriters, part of the Travis Doctrine, but whenever they came along and sang this, I always wondered, where were you at the time? You would have been perfect candidate. Why are you singing about this? It's one thing if you're the Beatles, you're Clapton, you're British. I understand that. I got that. But why are you doing this? But imagine somebody's perspective. They say, but I was in Vietnam. This is my friend. He was I had to pick him up. He was in pieces. I still have nightmares about that. I came back in the middle of the night and you didn't even care about me. Oh, well. Yeah, but your reality, well, that's our reality. Yeah, but you got that from media. I know. The power of that. Remember, the story today is the inherent corruption of sock puppet mainstream media. How you tell people, the way you phrase it, what you tell kids, how they are to think, what the media tell you. And here's Carole King actually celebrating Kamala. Johnny Ballgame talks about reefer madness. It was one of the most important things in the world. At the time, remember, one of the things which is so important was, believe it or not, they were freaking out over the notion of hemp. And they couldn't tell the difference between different psychoactive marijuanas and the like, and they didn't know about this hemp thing. That scared the hell. And the DuPont people more than anybody else, because they had polymers and they had all kinds of rayon and daygron and synthetics, and this stupid canvas that looks a hell of a lot more durable than anything they can put out, and you can grow it as a weed. Got to get rid of that. I know. Let's get Hearst. Let's bring him in here. Hey, help us out with this. We have to do something about this hemp thing. And then there was a guy named Pancho Villa. Remember Pancho Villa? Read about Pancho Villa, and I think it was called great book I read called Smoke and Mirrors, about the distortion about drugs. Pancho Villa. Seizing huge swaths of land where William Randolph Hearst basically had forests for his paper production. So he didn't like Pancho Villa. He didn't like them Mexicans. Well, why is it that they came up with marijuana? They used to spell it with an H. Marijuana. They could have called it cannabis. They could have whatever. Why not call it pito? That's a West Tampa term, by the way. Pito. And if you were high, you were piteado, you know? Why not call it that? Because they wanted to demonize the notion of the Mexican. And we always go back and we always focus on this wild, ribald, distorted sense of these sexual dynamos, black people, reefer madness. Remember a bunch of black and only jazz musicians are smoking marijuana, pencil thin mustache. Remember that? And so you had this thing about marijuana, the Mexicans, those dirty Mexicans, and the blacks. We're going to go crazy with their hyper libidinous. And that's why, as I told you, the temperance women would actually work with the Klan to fight alcohol, because the Klan was worried that somehow these black dudes would get, crazy horny. And I know this sounds nuts, but it's true. And this is how propaganda works, which is a story of mine. Don't forget, propaganda is from Gregory the 15th or 16th. The propaganda, the propagation of the faith, propagandum et fide. And I love distortion. I love it. As I told you, I saw Carole King dancing over the idea, happy about Kamala. She's a smart woman. How can she be so distorted as to think that this woman is going to be a good, because she doesn't think about that. Because remember something, when you sell somebody, if I worked at CPAC, if I worked at these folks, I'm not selling specifics. I'm selling a feeling. I'm selling you're on our team, and our team loves Trump. And if you're on our team and you're a good and a smart person, you're going to love Trump as well. Forget about the specifics. We're going to love him because we're going to hate. If you don't love us, we're going to hate the other side too. You are under so much distortion of fact. It's not even remotely funny. It is beyond funny. It's sad. It's scary. You are seeing distortions nobody could ever even imagine. And that's where this is. And as I told you before, where do you get your information? Most people are motivated not by the facts, but by the feeling. Sparky says, actually, it was Tom Hanks' brother who played Forrest Gump on his long run. He grew a long beard, so that's why they used Tom's brother. Left purposely ungroomed and may have looked fake. It might have, but those pictures of Tom Hanks' brother or Tom Hanks as that was really bad. That when they showed Forrest as Hanks with the beard, it was just horrible. It was just absolutely horrible. It's funny you say this. It's very interesting, Sparky. A lot of these folks who all of a sudden, by virtue of the fact that we have the internet, you have every variation of theme. And when it comes to health and diet and exercise and lifestyle, you get everything. And that's why I am absolutely positively, and I don't want to ban anything. I don't want there to be any kind of prohibition. But you are making the biggest mistake of your life by advocating these super powerful THC and those edibles. Absolutely making the biggest mistakes of your life. And you're also making extremely serious efforts by not being more careful when you talk about hallucinogens and psilocybin and psychedelics and going into the Brazilians with the watuka. And I'm not saying there's nothing to it, but you are finding a lot of people who say this is terrific. Why? Because I'm going to go forward. Oh, because you want to spread the good word of hallucinogens? No, but because my YouTube channel, I'm closing in on 1 million viewers, and they love this stuff. Wait a minute, what? Oh yeah, don't think that's not a part of it, Joe. I'm not going to stop anybody. It's a free country. You can do whatever you want. I mean it. It's a free country, but be very careful with this stuff. Because remember, if they're wrong, you can't sue them. If they're wrong, if you say, hey, you told me that this stuff was great, and my cousin Eddie took this stuff, and now he's out of his mind. Yeah, well, yeah. Well, why didn't you warn me? Well, I'm just saying, I'm just, well, wait, I believed you. Well, you may have believed me, but that's okay. But you told me it was okay. I watched you and Joe Rogan and Joey, Crazy Joey, and What if I pull a Sid Barrett? Well, I mean, it could happen. It's pretty. This is pretty safe. Well, should I listen to what you're saying? Well, I mean, you can. What? Be very careful. You can't sue these people. You can't sue these people. It's the weirdest thing. I'm listening to somebody go, okay. When Suzanne Summers was talking about, oh, I'm whether it's true or not, when she was saying things like, I believe in fruit juices and enemas and all this stuff, blah blah blah. And, okay, all right. Then there were people during the times of I don't know when it was. There was the colonic movement. They were very big, the colonics. And then later on, you get into other groups of people who were finding, remember here recently, you got the paleos. That's my favorite. It's called the Atkins diet. And before the Atkins diet, it was called the Stillman diet. And before that, it was the Scarsdale diet. And before that, it was, So even with food and diet, what do you believe? I don't know. Nobody's going to force you to do it. You can believe whatever you want. Who's right and who's wrong? I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Well, is Trump a good guy? I think so. Is he perfect? No. Is he better than? Oh, absolutely. Is it really him? Yeah. Does he have a worldview? Yeah, he does. How do you know this? Because I've been reading and paying attention forever. There's no debate in this one. None. There's no debate. None. Uh-uh. 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 I hate to use cancer as a I don't want to use cancer as an analogy, but not too long ago, there was a friend of mine from years ago. He had this very aggressive glioblastoma, brain cancer. And they basically said, we could try a lot of things, but it's really advanced. And you might want to look for something more palliative, hospice or something like those. Whereas if somebody had a little thyroid cancer, mild, you can say, oh no, we'll treat that one. Oh, we'll take care of that. So there's variation. Well, yes, it's called cancer, but this one is very aggressive. Nobody pulls out of this one. But this one is a different story. Maybe we need new names for this. Same thing with this. Is Kamala a bad person? No. Is there any of you who really believe that she is a bad person? I don't think she's bad. I don't think she's bad at all. I don't think she is. I don't think she is. She is an actress, and many people. She's no more an actress than Charlie Kirk is. Charlie Kirk's an actor. He's playing a role. I'm sorry. He's playing a role, and that's good. Let me see. Okay, look at this. Folks, be careful. I took a hemp supplement. I had to go to the ER. My BP dangerously low. That's right, Edie. I'm just saying, I'm not an expert, but don't think this stuff is quote harmless. Sparky said initially marijuana was made illegal in California, and because it was not because it was harmful, because it was thought it would deter Mexican farm workers crossing the border and taking jobs from Americans. That was certainly a part of it. And I thank you for that. Go back and check out Smoke and Mirrors as well. They were very, very concerned with this. Well, first of all, no, governments have never liked people from really enjoying themselves too much. No matter what anybody will tell you, they don't like the fact that some people are becoming are either drunks or they're doing whatever the hell they're doing. They really don't like it. They don't care for it. It bothers them to no end. You see what I'm saying? There's something governments don't like you having to what seems to be fun. They are very, very, how do I say this? They're very, very paternalistic. They're very, very stodgy. In addition, they just do not like this. But let me just tell you something. This is very, very important. Remember, it's a free country, and you can do whatever you want. One of the people who forget this one was one of the most important aspects of my life, of my world, was the show Dragnet. And Blue Boy. Blue Boy probably did more to make acid illegal. LSD 25. Remember, lysergic acid diethylene tartrate and blah, 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 blah. Hoffman and Blue Boy with Jack Webb. Jack Webb used to always talk about these great lines where he said, let me tell you something, my friend. You better believe if you find some kid at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning retching his guts out, you better believe you're going to find a number 9 pill in his pocket or a couple of reefers. So don't give me this mind expansion crap. And he would go through these routines. My friend in Tampa, Mark Barrow, memorized them all perfectly. And he goes, you know it, and so do I. He would just start calling people up and he just would memorize these. We went to a Wendy's drive-in. Welcome to Wendy's. May I help you? You know it, and so do I. And if you find some poor kid retching and puking in the gutters at 3 o'clock in the morning, you're going to believe you're going to find a number 9 stick in there or a number 5 tab. So don't give me this mind expansion crap. And he goes, I'm sorry. But that was great. Now, what's the truth? Is marijuana okay? Well, the old stuff, absolutely. The old stuff was kind of, I don't want to say it was mild, but sometimes people, from what I've read, people would kind of laugh. Maybe they'd giggle. Maybe they'd get the munchies. Nobody puked. And even at the most powerful stuff that people would go for, various strains of Oaxacan red and the high times centerfold, it even then wasn't going to kill you. I mean, it was very psychoactive. It was a bit tame. You could stop it. Edibles, you eat it, and it immediately goes into your system, and you're stuck. It's there, and you can't call that one back. It's like calling back a nuclear attack. And people will think, oh, and I've got this one, and I know this one idiot, she actually was eating gummies. She thought it was okay. She thought, well, they're in gummies, and it must be okay because the government sanctions it. There's these wonderful words for it, gone. Arrebatado is like deep fried. That's a West Tampa term. Like crispy. You're just halal, wax, gooned, shingad, gone, toasted, always burnt, and we saw her and she said, well, Sandy had did it for her migraines, and she's eating hands full of this stuff because, like an idiot, she thought, well, it's okay because now, do I want to ban that? No. You should be able to do whatever you want to yourself. Giving it to other people, dropping it on the influence, a different story. So if we can't even get the straight truth about that, honestly, and I've been through this a million times, I've been through the debate because people become committed to a thinking. It's not about the truth, it's about a thinking. And there are people who truly believe that their thing is right. And by the way, when it comes to how marijuana was kept from people with spastic disorders, kids, even people who PTSD, people who were cancer victims, it's an antiemetic. At least I don't know what the new stuff is, but the old stuff, when people were going to vomit, it prevented you from being emetic, from vomiting. It gave people an appetizer, people on chemotherapy. I don't understand what they said no to that. Well, we'll give you the Marinol. The Marinol, it was a tablet. Saying, no, you want to be able to have, no. I never understood any of that. But they were so committed and they hated, listen to what I'm saying, not marijuana, but marijuana users. See, a lot of people don't hate abortion, they hate advocates of abortion. Sparky Hoop says it was weak ditchweed 100 years ago and grew practically everywhere. Before nylon was needed for rope, making it illegal because it to be bred over the years to become a dangerous thoroughbred. Making it illegal caused it to be bred over the years. Yes, forbidden fruit indeed. There have been from the beginning of time somebody who must have walked out there who somewhere said, hey, Jerry, yeah, listen, you left this stuff out. Yeah. Ooh, God, it smells awful. What is it, rotten? Yeah. Ooh, and he probably cut his finger. Oh, damn. Hey. Hey. Ooh. You don't think that stuff made me like, Jerry, try this. Is it me or what? This stuff smells awful. I know, but take a little bit of this. See what you think. Ooh, hey. I think we're on to something. That's how it started. And there had to be some kind of a neuroreceptor for it to, in the first place, for you to even recognize it. You know why sweet and low doesn't get you high? Is because there's no neuroreceptors for it. There's no intoxication reference to it. It's not everything that gets you high, only certain things. And here's the best part. Like anything else, if you again, and don't call me libertarian, I just don't believe it's the government's ability to tell you can do whatever you want. But while that may seem okay, you're not going to know the gradations of where you should back off because you're having too much fun. And then you become a part of the crowd. Then in the old days, it identified you. It was the ultimate counterculture thing. Head shops and this and pot and stoned and Cheech and Chong and it wasn't just it was a lifestyle. It was a statement you're making. Heads and stoners later on, and that's great, but it's not harmless. Don't give me that harmless business. I want you to listen to me carefully. Listen to Uncle Lenny. Remember, I'm telling you this. Remember, I'm telling you. When you're younger, you know this. You don't notice as much anymore. And when you don't remember the name of a song and you're beat the out, you kind of laugh at it. You know what I mean? Because You know, it's so funny that Cheech is showing that Tommy Chong character. To me, he's not funny at all. It's kind of sad. I don't know if you've seen these two. Cheech, his eyes are so closed. I don't even think he can see. His epicanthus is so. I'm surprised he can even see for some reason. But anyway, but Tommy Chong's still doing this head thing. He's like, what, 80 years old? It's like, okay, that's fine. And the whole Rasta thing which really infuriated Kamala's father. But when you start getting older and you start seeing relatives of yours and parents of yours, and they can't remember things, or significant portions of their life are now gone, because remember, you are a composite of your memories. Your memories are what you are. Then you you hold it really, really precious. This idea of like, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't be doing this. Maybe because there is no good reason why you can't remember things. It's a, hey, this stuff is so good, man. Try it. You won't remember anything. It's like, wait, hold it. Stop. Oh, you want what? What? Yeah, it's great, man. It was a 3-finger lid, using phrases from, and you can't remember? Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. What do you mean? You'll get really effed up. Yeah, I know, but you can't remember? Does that not bother you? What? You know, the Spicoli, you know what I mean? The stoner, the lovable stoner, Reverend Jim. You know, we kind of laugh at that. It's kind of funny. It was part of our culture. Then later you realize, you know, it's not that funny. Maybe because we were more elastic than plastic as a youth. Where do I fit in? You think Joe Rogan would ever have me on and say, Joe, take it easy? What? Talk about Mr. Killjoy or Killboy pumping the brakes when he and Joey Diaz start walking about getting halal on whatever it was. They're not going to want to hear me. And I think you should do whatever you want. It's a free country. I mean, who wants to have somebody on a show like that to say, I don't think that's a good idea? I think we've learned a lot. I don't think it's a good idea. And remember something, the reason why things are very, very popular is because they're very good. The reason why people, I was listening to, don't ask me how I got onto this Mitch Hedberg thing. You know, he was doing heroin with needles. And he was apparently he went to was it Austin? They stopped him at the airport and he had gangrene from bad needles. And the smell apparently alerted somebody and he almost lost his leg. This is Mitch Hedberg, who was really, truly on another planet, really good. And they were going to amputate his leg. And this one doctor says, we don't do that Civil War stuff anymore. I thought, oh, that's a great line. So here's this guy, Mitch Hedberg, who probably thought, and he convinced himself that his creativity was because of his use of heroin or heron, as some of my old clients would say. Why? Because people think that it opens up a level of creativity that was theretofore inaccessible. What people don't realize is one of the benefits of the intoxication is the illusion that what you're saying is brilliant. What you're thinking is brilliant. Hemingway said, write drunk, but edit sober. And there are people who believe, they really believe that opening this up, that you become more and more, in some cases, creatively inspired, when in fact, that's part of the illusion. Sparky, who doesn't need anything artificial to be brilliant, says hallucinations often are caused by the brain recovering from trauma or damage. Oxygen deprivation can have a similar effect as hallucinogenic drugs. Well, it's very interesting. Hallucinations versus illusions. We can get into that one. There are some things where we can say, I will give you this. Watch this. Here, give me this. Can you bring in Sparky? Yeah. Sparky, hi, how are you? I'm Dr. Hamlinson. Sparky, have a seat. Okay, Sparky, we're going to give you a little something here. We're going to be doing this. Here we go. There we go. Okay. Now, Sparky, you've never had any trauma, have you? No. Okay, good. Here we go. This is going to sting a little bit. Okay. Now, when I push this, you're going to be seeing dragons. And the reason why is not because of any particular trauma, not because you've ever seen dragons, but because of this. Okay, here we go. There we go. There they go. Yep. That's a hallucination. Sometimes it is, of course, you're right. Anytime somebody, if you've ever had a colonoscopy, the greatest thing in the world is propofol, milk of amnesia. It's the greatest thing in the world. And why Michael Jackson got hooked at it, I mean, you don't even know. To me, a drug that you don't know you're under the influence of, it kind of defeats the purpose. You know, good night, good night. Next thing you know, wake up. And you just realize how great this is because you've just been assaulted in a room using utensils and tubes that would get you 20 to life in state prison if you did this against somebody's will. I mean, it would be the worst thing in the world, but you just went through it voluntarily and you don't know anything. That's pretty doggone good. And there's a camera attached to it and a little lasso. Hey, I don't know what that thing is. Let's take that baby off. There we go. Next thing you know, what did you do to me? You don't want to know. Really? Yeah, you don't want to know. That's the greatest thing in the world. Our sense of reality is wonderful. When people never think about this, they don't care about this. But when you see a little kid laughing, nothing, I think is as beautiful and makes me so happy as to see whenever babies are able to understand laughing, they're okay. Because if your kid doesn't laugh, not good. Laughing is the ultimate ingenious to process something and to wax convulsive over it, paroxysmally reacting to it. Something you're processing it at such a level, you're losing your breath. This is a wave of reaction. It's the most beautiful thing. It's like, what are you laughing at? When little kids laugh, that is like, wow, oh man. And sometimes people can laugh artificially. Sometimes they can laugh, whatever it is. And getting into the brain and how, I think that, however, it's wonderful, except that be very, very careful. Here's a question, changing the subject. And this is one for you, Sparky. Let's assume I've got this thing. Say, you ready for this? Okay, I've got this device. And I want it's connected to you. We found the part of your brain that gives the impression of intoxication. Gives the impression of it. It's not real intoxication, but it's now. I want you to see this right here. See this button? Okay, it looks like a pencil, but it's not. I want you to push it right here. And when you push this button, you will become drunk. When you're tired of it, you got to go home, you got to drive, you push the button and it goes away. You will feel drunk without any kind of alcohol in your system. Name it. You want to be stoned? Here, use this one. Push this button. Whoa. You got to go to work now? Turn it off. What if you could feel that way without ingesting the substance? You can't overdose because it's a feeling. Nothing gets into your system. Nothing is in your bloodstream. Nothing. I'm just electromagnetically using transcranial electromagnetic stimulation. You wear this little thing, and you swear you are gooned out of your mind. And then somebody says, oh, okay, Jerry, that's enough. We got to go. Enough. And you're fine. Would you use it? Absolutely. 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 You would be, and would you become addicted to it? Maybe. But think about it. If you could feel that way, not have to use the substance itself. Sparky says, In cases where hallucinogenic drugs have a positive effect, it's because they shake the box and things just happen to settle in a better configuration. Hit or miss, likely miss, got to weigh it out. Sparky, there was something which is very, very important. And years ago, when ecstasy, MDMA, I'll never forget reading this. There was a married couple that had all kinds of problems. Whether this is true or not, but the story intrigued me. And they sent the kids to the grandparents. They had kind of locked themselves in for the weekend, and they dosed on MDMA, ecstasy, and they hit levels, they swore, of understanding that they could remember. It's one thing if you have a level of understanding that you believe you were feeling by virtue of the hallucination aspect of it, but they said it changed them forever. The light went on, they saw it, and they said, okay, we got it, and it changed it. I absolutely am 100% in favor of doing further research. That makes complete and total sense to me, of course. Absolutely. Every single thing that you feel, every trauma, ultimately has to do with fear and not understanding. Every single thing. Fear and scare and fright and unknowing and what is this? And because the only thing that scares you, if you think about it, is what's fear is the unknown. If you know something, you kind of, okay. But it's the unknown part of it. So I believe there's something to be said for that. And I believe that there are some cases where we can unlock, especially kids who have been through trauma, especially when kids who have been through trauma and they don't even know what the trauma was. Repressed memories, no, that is the most dangerous thing in the world. Be careful of that. Run from that. Well, you very well might have been when you were a child, your father. Right? No. Wait. Don't be careful with that. I've seen that one. That is so dangerous. It's not even funny. But you better believe that if anybody doesn't tell you, if you don't think that there is not a benefit of somebody who are all tensed up as you have a sip of wine or something or kind of relax. If you don't think that's beneficial, if you don't think people have benefited, you're out of your mind. How far do you go? I don't know what to tell you. Here's my favorite. This is my favorite. Years ago, there was oh God. I don't know where. It might have been the New York Times magazine when the New York Times was really good. Now it's like, I don't even bother. And they wanted to do they wanted to do a study. They were into this thing called transcranial electromagnetic stimulation. You put this thing in your head, and it's kind of looks like a rubber, like a swim cap with magnets. And make a long story short, they were looking at OCD behavior, and they were kind of trying to fine tune. So the story goes, they're doing this and they're, okay, try this one. Are we, do you feel the OCD symptom coming on? Okay, what about now? Anyway, to make a long story short, whenever somebody says that, they don't mean it. They went like that. They hit the button. They depressed the plunger. They activated this particular part of the brain. And all of a sudden, this person said, I'm in love. What? Wait a minute. Love? Oh my. Whoa, hold it. Wait a minute. This is not working right. Well, guess what happened? They got into a part of the brain, but they didn't understand one thing. What is love? What is that first instance of love? It's an obsessive compulsive disorder. Obsessional, thinking about it. Brand new. Oh my God, the songs of love. If you have a married couple who's been together 30 years and they are still feeling the feeling they felt when they first met, that is something wrong with that. And the reason why is because that is initial. The most important form of love, and anybody will tell you, is what comes later on when it becomes more complex. I know people think I'm lying, but I'm not. Sparky says real MDMA actually makes people get along. It was made illegal because the bars weren't selling as much alcohol. Everyone was hugging each other. Huggy. I'm going to call you Huggy, like Huggy Bear. Sparky, You come up with these great. I'm not saying that is at all implausible, but I love your stories, and I'm sure they're true. I'm not disputing them. For example, MDMA was basically made illegal by virtue of the tavern and spirits industries because people were getting along, and bar fights were less, and the security business lost a lot of money. So because of heavy lobbying from the security firms, you know, I'm not mocking you, but I like your stories, your truth with a wonderful anecdote. Think of it like a logical sentiment. It just adds a little like, a little kick. So going back to this, they also did some other experiments. They said they took a number of these. Were they nuns? I think. Anyway, they were into this very deep transcendental stuff. They could really deeply think. And what they did was they said, let us know when they were looking at, EEGs, and let us know when you're, they had an fMRI. They were looking at functional mapping. They said, let us know when you're into this thing. And they had a little string, like into the next room or something. Just pull this. It was nuns or monks or something. They said, just pull the string so we know you're there. You don't have to say anything, and we'll turn the machine on and see what's happening. Well, when they said, okay, now, and they said, whoa, and they see the parts of the brain that are red and firing, it's like, geez, look at this. This is so interesting. Okay. Here's the question. They also found out that people saw God. And one of the things about God is right around, I love this parietal part. This is where kids and babies develop in this notion of presence, placement. Something else is here. I'm not alone. You take it for granted. But a lot of kids they're sitting in their little crib and going, what the hell is this? And somebody says, wait a minute. These things that are in front, they're mine. This is me. I thought they were just flying in front of me. No, wait a minute. What do you mean it's me? There's me. I'm here. Because a lot of kids will just look. Just think about this. You're a baby and you're developing. You don't even know. You're just watching this. Like, what is this? Then you realize presence. They're here. Mama's here. Mama's not here. Object permanence, Piaget. You've been through that book. Well, what's the notion of God? God is here. I'm one of many, one of the world, one of the universe, one of And if you can kind of zero in on that. So here's my question. What if you went to a doctor and say, listen, went to a doctor and said, listen, we've been married for a long time and I don't know, I want to go back to the way it was when we first met. The doctor says, yeah, but no, I want to do that. Or I've lost my faith. I want you to recreate and stimulate artificially the notion of God. I want you to create. And the ultimate question is, I went through a terrible trauma. I want you to excise, to ablate, to expurgate, to bodilerize, to amputate this part of my brain so that this trauma that I went through is forever gone. What are the moral implications of artificially creating, accentuating, dampening, or removing something that happened? What if you said, I hate my kids. I hate them. They're the biggest bunch of losers. Can you fix that part of the brain that has a parental love? Yeah. Oh, I can do that. Can you artificially make me feel something that life and situational have changed forever? You want to do this? Look at this. I love this. Off topic. I love off topic. Ken Heat's Blind Owl Wilson. You were asking about him yesterday. We love you here in Jakarta, Indonesia. You got a wide range following, Uncle Lenny. Wow. Marcus Ferguson. Thank you for this. Now, Marcus, I've got to tell you something, and I appreciate this immensely. Jakarta, Indonesia. I'm going up country. When I've never received somebody in a super chat who gave me 500,000 IDRs. You gotta just. I'm thinking, what in the hell? That's this is Indonesian rupiah. This is this is five. By the way, thank you very much, and I appreciate that. But when I see that, I'm thinking 500,000. God, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate that. But I love it. It's like one time when we went to Mrs. L and I were in Mexico. I didn't know how to. I wasn't really that versed with and I gave somebody I thought was a great tip. It was nothing. I was like, I don't know, 50 cents or something. But thank you for this. Remember, he was going up the country. I was watching funny yesterday, this Woodstock about Lang and others about how they put together Woodstock and how this thing came about and how they went absolutely crazy. By the way, that just so that you know, is $32.15 US. That's okay. I'm just saying I appreciate that. But normally you say $500,000. So what would one be? I mean, I don't even know what. It's like just thank you. Thank you. All right, my friends, what a day we've had, huh? What a day you've had. Marcus Ferguson. How did Marcus Ferguson ever get to Jakarta, Indonesia? Biggest Muslim population on the planet. Sparky, you are absolutely, when you go off, you went from minerals, fasting into hallucinogenic drugs. That's your genius, my friend. I thank you. Edie Crowley, thank you. And let me see who else is here. And that is, and Raul Rodriguez. I thank you for that as well. There's no such, never say off topic to me ever. Never use that term, never use that phrase. Never, ever, 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 ever use that term off topic. Because that is the beauty of what we are going through right now. The beauty of just being who we are. And I appreciate that immensely. It drives some people crazy. Not I. I loves it. The idea of being able to wax, shall we say, varied, for lack of a better word, in any event. So I thank you for that. All right, dear friends, enjoy your day today. Enjoy this thing that you are doing, this crazy and wonderful world of Labor Day that nobody knows anything about or cares anything about in the least. It's one of those things where I'm sorry, I hate to tell you this. It's like good for you, good for your. I think labor is a wonderful thing to do. I think it's important for people to understand the notion of jobs and how jobs change everything. Look at this one. Our good friend Sparky says he's off. Sparky says, don't know if real MDMA is still available. I hear it's just a crystal meth now, sort of like M90 fireworks after real M80s were made illegal. Not the same. Not even close. You're right. Remember M1000 ash cans? M80s were, oh my God, could take out a mailbox. Not that I've ever done that, but I've seen it. One of Will says, another off topic, L, is Walls not John Wayne Gacy, just full of whatever refreshed after the grave? Wow. I don't know if he reminds me of John Wayne. I don't know. I don't think Walls goes to show you that he is nothing but somebody who was plucked out of oblivion in order to satisfy something that somebody thought would be beneficial to the cause for reasons I shan't understand. So thank you for that one of Will's. All right, dear friends, we'll see you tonight. Have a happy Labor Day. We'll see you at 7 p.m. the usual time. Don't forget, follow Mrs. L at Lynn's Warriors. And don't forget also our other great sponsor, mypillow.com. Mypillow.com, promo code Lionel. Get a free gift. And October 26th at the Cutting Room in New York City. All the information is available here on the information section. So anyway, have a great day. See you later. Love today's talk. Loved it. Until then, remember, as I said, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya.